Tonight, I have the privilege of introducing a fabulous man that is just he's a wealth of knowledge. And I always look to him for some good information because he never lets me down. He's a walking encyclopedia. And so I'd like to turn the time over now to Jason Doc Wells. Doc, take it away.
Oh, thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. Folks, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the products that have made a real difference in my life since I started using them. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I have yet to meet one of the products I didn't like, but there are some that are kind of favorites of mine because of what they've done for me. When I first got involved in the business and started trying products, I'm going to be honest with you, the only reason I tried them is I thought, well, if I'm going to be in the business, I better at least know what this stuff is and try it out. I didn't really expect anything. I thought that it was just like everybody else that sold some sort of supplements. That I was going to try it, but I wasn't really going to notice anything. And boy, was I wrong. When I looked at this business, I didn't care what the product was until after I started using it. And some interesting things happened to me. When I first looked at this, I was in very, very poor health. And that had come from I'd been in an automobile accident several years ago, broken my back. Because of some of the treatments that doctors had given me, I had developed problems with other things such as diabetes, high blood pressure, you name it. I had a batch of things going on with me, and all of them bad. When I first took a look at this business, I was to the point that my doctor was assuming my lifespan to be somewhere between 5 and 8 years because of what my blood work looked like and what was going on with my health. And when I first started trying products, I noticed, okay, I'm feeling a little better, but I really didn't know how drastic a changes were actually happening until my doctor started running some blood tests on me. And when he did, he was amazed. By leaps and bounds, my blood work had changed to the point that he was no longer saying 3 to 5 years. He's going, well, your guess is as good as mine now. And I want to go over some of the products that I started with. When the first batch of products that I ever tried was the Basic Health Bundle. I tried the Sea Garden and the Balanced Health and the Digestive Balance. And while I didn't see any huge drastic changes overnight, in just a matter of a few days, I did notice that I was feeling amazingly better. I wasn't as tired. I didn't have, a lot of the problems that I've been having were starting to clear up. Then we got one of my favorite products of all time in, and this was shortly after I got in the business, was the anti-inflammation food. And I coupled the anti-inflammation food with krill oil, and something happened to me that had not happened in years. Because of my problem with the accidents, when I had broken my back, I finally got to where I could walk again, things like that, but I had never gotten to the point that I could not walk, or that I could walk without the aid of a walking stick of some sort. Whether it was a cane, a walking stick, whatever it was, I had to have it because if I didn't, I was going to fall down. I could walk, but not very far, and I couldn't do it unaided. And after I started using the anti-inflammation food and the krill oil, a lot of the pain-relieving drugs that I was on, I had already cut down or eliminated altogether. And one day, and it was kind of silly, it was one of those things where you have an epiphany, not because you're paying attention, but because something else happens. I always used to like to say it was the good Lord's way of putting what we called a wait-a-minute vine in front of you. A wait-a-minute vine, a friend of mine talked about them. They had them in Vietnam. He said they were these thorns, or these bushes that had thorns on them about 6 inches long. You'd go by, they'd grab a hold of your clothes and say, hey, wait a minute. And so I'd hit one of these wait-a-minute vines. What had happened, because of the anti-inflammation food and the fact that I wasn't in the kind of pain that I was in before, and the krill oil building things up in my body, making things work right again, I went out to check the mail one day. And when I came back in the house, I had started running up and down the stairs looking for something, and my mother was still alive at that time. She was there at the house, and she asked me, she said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm looking for my walking stick. She said, well, why? And I said, well, I've got to go to town. I've got to make a little trip to town. I've got to have my walking stick. And she looked me up and down, and she said, well, why are you looking for it? You obviously don't need it. And it was one of those things, that realization hit me not because I was paying attention. And understand, for the first time in 13 years, I had lost track of that walking stick. What had happened is when I went out to check the mail, I'd leaned it up against the mailbox and then turned around and walked back into the house because I was paying attention to the mail that I had in my hand that I was reading and not focusing on the walking stick. Now, had I tried doing that even just a couple of months before, I wouldn't have made it back into my house. I would have fallen long before I got there. I hadn't lost a walking stick in 13 years because if I had to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I had one in my hand. I always knew where it was. And most of those I've either given them to other people that needed them a lot more than I did, or something of that nature. I don't keep the wheelchair and the walker and things like that around anymore because I don't need them. And as I started getting into utilizing the product, adding others, one of the products that has done some amazing things for me is the glucose balance. Now, glucose balance is exactly what it says. It's a glucose balancing agent. Most people in America today, even if they're not full-blown diabetics, do have at least mild problems with their sugars being out of balance, either too high, too low. We all know people that have got problems with diabetes. Either they're taking a pill or they're taking shots because their sugar goes too high, or maybe you know somebody that all of a sudden they'll get a little dizzy and weak and they've got to go eat something quickly because their sugar has gone too low. And glucose is sugar. Keeping that in balance is amazingly good for your body. When it's out of balance, it carries a ton of negative side effects with it. And when I started using the glucose balance, I had a kind of a funny experience. I was one of these diabetics that even with meds, a lot of times my diabetes was running rampant. Sugars being very high and things of that nature. I was taking levels of insulin that would have easily killed most people because my body was becoming so resistant to insulin that I was taking massive doses just to try to get my sugar level down again. Now, you take somebody that's normally has a problem with diabetes, and when they're measuring levels of insulin that they're taking in fast-acting insulin, they're talking about levels of 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 16 units. At that time, when I first started taking glucose balance, I was up to taking between 600 and 700 units of insulin every day just to try to keep things balanced out, and it still wasn't working. I started taking the glucose balance with meals. A few days into this, one morning I went to get up, and I went right over on my nose. I couldn't get up. I had the shakes. I was sweating, things of this nature. I couldn't figure out what it was. I checked my sugar levels, and they were at 38 and going down. I literally had to go into the kitchen and consume sweet stuff to get my sugar levels back up, because between the glucose balance working to keep my sugar levels down and then taking the insulin on top of it, the insulin caused my sugars to bottom out. It wasn't the glucose balance that did that, it was the insulin. So I started having to back down on my insulin, and in a very short amount of time, I quit taking it altogether because I didn't need it anymore. And most people will tell you, well, there's no cure for diabetes, and technically that is true, okay? There are two kinds of diabetes out there. Type 1 means that your body simply does not produce any insulin of any kind, and you have to supplement it artificially. Type 2, which is the most common type of diabetes on the planet, means that your body produces more than enough insulin, but you have become immune to it. Your body has become resistant to insulin inside your body. It doesn't work anymore. The same thing that everybody else has in their body, it's just that in your body it doesn't work. Now, the funny part of that is a lot of research is now telling us that there are several factors that are contributing to this, obesity being one of them, but for a lot of people that do not have a problem with obesity, but they still have a problem with type 2 diabetes, a lot of it is the simple fact that their bodies have not been fed the nutrition that they need, because you can't get it from your food anymore. Well, with the combination of the Balanced Health and the Sea Garden, which provides you with the vitamins and the trace minerals that you can't get from your diet anymore, coupling that with the digestive balance that helped me get more from the food that I was eating, and then putting the glucose balance on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not considered diabetic anymore. It's been over a year since I've had to do anything to control my blood sugars other than the supplements. I don't take any drugs for it anymore because I don't need them. Okay, a lot of the health problems that I've had, a lot of them have disappeared. Now, one thing that I have suffered with multiple times in my lifetime, the first time because of a spider bite, is something called cellulitis. Now, cellulitis is just simply a fancy word for an infection in soft tissue. And the causes of it can be just about anything. And over the years, I have had bouts with cellulitis, primarily in my legs. The first time that I ever got it, it was from a hobo spider bite. And they had to give me an antibiotic called Rocephin to counteract it. Well, it worked rather well. Didn't have the problem with the cellulitis for very long. But each time I've gotten it since then, they did the same thing. They'd give me a shot of Rocephin, maybe for a few days, and it would clear it right up. What I was never told by anyone until after I had a problem with it is that taking those types of antibiotics over a period of time, your body will develop allergies to them. And in most cases of people that have had to take antibiotics for long periods of time or have had to have them multiple times, they will find that after a while they will develop allergies to those antibiotics. A little over a year ago, I had a little problem with some cellulitis in a digit, actually, on my leg, caused by a wound that I had gotten. And they gave me a shot of Rocephin, this simple antibiotic, to try to clear it up. Within 2 minutes, I was in severe trouble. I was having a severe anaphylactic reaction to this. I was informed after I woke up that I had gone into grand mal seizures, and the treatment that they had used to try to keep the Rocephin from killing me had caused me to have 2 heart attacks. Now, I had been on supplements for quite some time when this happened. I spent the night in the hospital. They put 2 stents in my heart, had 2 major coronary events happen, and I left the hospital that day and was back to work the following night. Now, I don't know of anybody that's ever had 2 major heart attacks and was still able to go to work that night, and I really wasn't in bad shape because of it. And in talking to the cardiologist that treated me, the doctors that treated me for these heart attacks, they were amazed that I was even able to get out of bed, much less leave the hospital. And when I told him that I had gone to work that night, he couldn't believe that I had been able to get out of bed. Now, even with an event such as major heart attacks, I recovered more quickly than any doctor had. The doctor told me he had never seen anybody recover that quickly from a heart attack or from a set of heart attacks. They wanted me to limit what I was doing for a while, things of that nature. They told me I would be looking at 1 year to 2 years to get the full amount of recovery that I was going to get from these heart attacks, that I would have problems, all of this stuff. You know, doctors tell us a lot of these things. And yet they were telling me that I was going to have to be on certain prescriptions and meds and so forth for a while. I don't take any of those for my heart anymore because I don't need them. Even the cardiologist that was treating me is amazed at how well I am doing, and yet I'm not taking the drugs that they want me to. I take supplements. Now, over a period of time, the longer you are on these supplements, the better your body is going to be able to handle what's going to be thrown at you. Whether it's because of a treatment that a doctor has done, whether it's something that you've picked up somewhere, whatever it is, you'll find a lot of people will find that your recovery time on illness is going to be drastically improved. And your occurrence of any kind of illness is going to be a lot less than it ever has been before. And my experience has been that these supplements, and I've tried most all of them at one time or another. These supplements, hands down, are the best I have ever seen. Now, I've seen some that are out there on the market that they claim are as good as ours. They claim to be this, that, something else. When I've looked to try to find something equal to what we have in supplements, I've failed. I've found some things that were close. I found a couple of things. I was looking for one to replace Balanced Health, simply because I wanted to know what the competition was. I looked for one to replace Seaguard, and I did find them at a local health food store. They weren't as good as what we've got, but they were close. The problem was the one that would replace Balanced Health, or at least come as close to it as I was able to find, a month's supply of it was $129.95. The one that I was found that was close to replacing Sea Garden was $80 a month. Now, when I look at not only how fantastic our supplements are, and what the amazing things that I have seen happen with people over the last little while, but then compare the price to what anybody else can do, flat out, nobody can beat it. And I mean nobody. I've looked. I have tried. I'm the skeptic in the group. I'm the guy that you're going to have to prove it to me. And the fun thing that has happened is in experiencing all of this, I have seen a lot of people that have been able to shed their medications that doctors were giving them. Now, let me clarify this. I am not saying that our supplements treat any kind of disease, or neither am I recommending that you replace prescriptions with supplements. In fact, I can't even legally say that. What I can tell you is that in January of 2011, I was on 23 prescriptions a day. And I don't mean 23 pills, I mean 23 prescriptions. That was about half a dozen injections and around 80 pills a day, every day. And my health was not getting better, it was getting worse. I have replaced all of those. I don't take any of them anymore because I simply do not need them. So for me, my own personal use, yes, I was able to replace my prescriptions with supplements. And quite honestly, when it comes to the expense, supplements are a whale of a lot cheaper. Even with insurance and things of that nature, my prescriptions were costing me more than supplements would any time. Now, I have seen people that have gotten off of drugs that are for high blood pressure. I've seen them get rid of cholesterol medications. I've seen them get rid of antidepressant medications. A myriad of different things that they simply don't need anymore, because now that their body is getting fed what it needs, it's reacting the way it's supposed to. Our bodies are amazing. If they're fed what they need, they have an amazing ability to heal themselves. And once we learn this, a lot of people out there, they'll take a supplement thinking, oh, it's a vitamin, and they've been told all their life they needed vitamins. They don't know why, and they don't know what they are. But they've just been told that, so they go downtown, they buy a bottle of something, and they stick it down their throat every day, hoping that it's going to do something. And for me, this is the first time in all of my years of taking supplements that I've actually taken any that I can see the results. And I would challenge you all, start with a basic health bundle. I think everybody on the planet needs to be on the basic health bundle. Balanced Health, Sea Garden, and Digestive Balance. The Digestive Balance, for me, that was a wonder. I love hot, spicy foods. I really do. The hotter and the spicier, the better. I've always loved those, even when I was a kid. But I had given them up. I couldn't eat them anymore because I would ingest these things, and 30 minutes later I had heartburn that could light up New York City. They told me I had acid reflux. One of the fastest growing diseases in America today is acid reflux. For most people, acid reflux is a lie. You don't have a problem with acid reflux. You have a problem in that your food no longer has the digestive enzymes in it to help it break down properly. So your body does exactly what it's supposed to because your body's smarter than you are. It throws more acid at the food to try to break it down because those enzymes are not there. There's no wonder that you've got too much acid in your belly. And I was the guy that I always had a, little tube of antacids in my pocket, and I had the Alka-Seltzers in the cupboard and so forth. I had them all over the place. I don't use them anymore because I don't need them anymore. I can eat the hottest, spiciest food you've ever seen, and it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I love it. I'm back to being able to eat the kind of cuisine that I could before. And because I'm getting those digestive enzymes and so forth, I don't have a problem with heartburn. I don't have acid reflux. Like I said, for most people, acid reflux is a lie. You add the digestive balance to your meals every day, and you'll find that problem with quote-unquote acid reflux is going to disappear. When your body is getting the nutrients that it needs, getting the vitamins that you're going to get from the Balanced Health, getting all of the trace minerals that you're going to need from the Sea Garden, getting the digestive enzymes from Digestive Balance, your body's got those things to work with. You've got the building blocks of health in your hands. And I would challenge all of you, get on, at the very, very least, get on the Basic Health Bundle and try it for a minimum of 90 days. I would actually recommend doing it for a year, but if you're only going to try it, do it for at least 90 days, because that's how long it takes for your body to replace your blood. And if your everything in your body is run on your blood, and if you've got the building blocks that your body needs to produce good, healthy blood cells that work the way they're supposed to, as your body starts replacing those blood cells, everything in your body is going to start working better and working the way that it's supposed to. So I'm going to open it. If anybody's got any questions, please let me know. I don't want to keep you real late tonight. But like I said, at a bare minimum, try the Basic Health Bundle. I always tell everybody, Get on the basic health bundle and then add whatever you need to that. If you've got a problem with arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, any of those, go with the anti-inflammation food. If you're not allergic to shellfish, add krill oil to it. Those two are a 1-2 punch for people that are experiencing pain that is incredible. You know, if you've got heart problems like I supposedly do, you know, the Ursovein and K9 are fantastic supplements for those because they both deal with vascular health. Whatever it is you need, you start with the basic health bundle, then add to it. So, are there any questions tonight? Okay.
All right, if you have any questions, you can just blurt them out, or you can push 5-star, and that'll raise your hand. I'd like to thank Doc for sharing his story with us. I'm always impressed with how much knowledge he has, and he obviously has learned it through the School of Hard Knocks, through total experience, which is one of the best teachers. And I especially love how much our products have helped Doc, and I've watched him over the past couple of years, and he is a totally different person. He was a fabulous person before, but now he's a fabulous and a lot more healthy person. And, well, he is half the man he used to be. So these products have done wonders for me, for Doc, and we know several other people that have just had such tremendous benefits from these great whole food supplements that we have. And if you missed seminar Saturday, you missed Carrie's great talk. He talked about how different prescriptions have harmed his parents and caused them a lot more suffering than they needed to have. And what he's learned and the changes that we've made in their supplementations and prescriptions, and just the vast improvement we've been seeing in them. So if there's any questions, speak up now or forever hold your peace. All right. I guess we will talk to you all next Monday then. Thank you for joining the call.